Here's Deb, Chris. So this meeting is being recorded and, tonight we're gonna share the, harbor management plan that we have been working on for a long time, it seems. If you haven't yet read it, you can find it on the town website by, just putting in the search bar, Harbor Management Task Force. And then when you find our committee, under public forum, there are links to the plan and links to a comment form. And the comments will be open, I think, till, like I said, December 19th. And if you can't figure out how to do that or have a more detailed question, you can certainly email any of the committee members or Bion. And I don't think we'll be taking up the comments too much until the new year. I'm sure Shannon, Kristen, we've worked hard on it, right? Through the end of the year. I'm now going to turn it over to the folks from the Urban Harbors Institute, who have been partnering with us on this plan, and let them introduce themselves and share a summary of the fairly lengthy plan.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, so thanks everyone for coming. I'm Shannon Hogan. I'm from the Urban Harbors Institute. I'm a research associate there. We're an applied research institute at UMass Boston within the School for the Environment. We do a lot of work with harbor management plans. We do a lot of other type of research too, related to coastal planning, ocean policy, natural resource management, et cetera. And then Kristen Uterick here, she's the director of the Urban Harbors Institute. And we have a couple other colleagues that are part of the Institute as well. So I'm just going to share my screen and have a brief go through a brief overview of the plan. I know a lot of you have read it, but just in case for those of you who haven't, tonight is a chance to, again, address any comments and feedback for the plan. So we'll go over review of the planning process, highlights of the draft plan, and then again, questions, discussion, and next steps. So goals for tonight. Here we go. A reminder of why the town developed a harbor plan and gather feedback on the draft. So why develop a harbor plan? It identifies goals and visions for the waterway and shoreline, and then we develop strategies and resources needed to achieve those goals. Address important topics such as boating, fishing, climate change, public access, and it also helps position the town for grant funding because there's a lot of action items that have been vetted and are laid out in the plan. And this orange line is kind of just showing the planning boundary. So this is the timeline process for planning. We had a public meeting back in March, and then we did a lot of research writing and committee review with the Harbor Management Task Force. And now we're at public meeting number 2, when the plan has been drafted and released to the public. And so the plan is hefty. We do at the front of it have all the goals and the recommendations and the findings that we discovered throughout this process. And then we have 2 appendices, which includes background information on a variety of topics, including public access, climate change, natural resources, water quality. All of these topics are related to the town. So how is climate change affecting the town? How are natural resources being managed in the town? What's water quality like, et cetera, public access in the town, how much is there? So it just kind of gives you some context for the findings and recommendations. And so we're going to go through the goals briefly again, just to remind folks of the meat of the plan. So the first goal was really focusing on protecting the town's commercial and public facilities, municipal services, and residential property from sea level rise and flooding from storms. The main finding here was that climate change is impacting coastal infrastructure, it's altering natural resources, and it's disrupting services. So the town needs to continue planning for climate change, expanding the areas beyond what was in the Coastal Vulnerability Action Plan, so conducting more coastal vulnerability assessments beyond that, what was in that plan, and updating laws and regulations. Goal 2 was to provide safe and navigable waterways, realizing that the harbor is a limited resource and its capacity may be at or above peak capacity, especially in certain areas. And that is related to use of the harbor and also natural resources in the harbor. So a recommendation is to determine what that harbor capacity is, do an actual study, and address capacity concerns that come up, ensure there's adequate staffing, and then again, support appropriate harbor activity. Another finding was that the location of the harbor master's office is an impediment to the timing of basic access and emergency response. So recommending that that harbor master office be located on the water. Additionally, another finding was that waterways related infrastructure must be regularly maintained to support harbor uses and withstand future climate impacts. So developing and implementing a management and maintenance plan to maintain harbor infrastructure. We know that the harbor requires dredging on a regular basis. And so to support safe navigation, ensuring that that dredging is happening on a regular cycle and coordinating with any entities that work needs to be done with. Goal 3 was just maintaining and enhancing public access. This finding recognizes that Manchester has considerable public access to the harbor and scenic views, including beach access, public parks, boat launch facilities, and public docks. Access is important and should be protected and also expanded where possible. So again, some recommendations include preserving access, protecting views, enhancing parking, ensuring access is equitable, and sustaining access for. There's also a need for consolidated information about public access, harbor regulations, emergency preparedness. So making sure this information is all in one place and easily accessible. So enhancing voter safety and increasing awareness of the natural resources within the community and how those impact harbor uses. And then our 4th goal was ensuring healthy water quality and protecting town's natural resources and adjacent to the waterways. So what we found is that the town really needs a comprehensive assessment of natural resource areas and of water quality to really determine what decisions need to be made and what education needs to be done. So the town should gather water quality data, establish a monitoring program, monitor their natural resources such as the salt marsh systems, and also work to protect and improve conditions through implementation of management strategies. The final goal, which is goal 5, to support the marine economy, water dependent uses like Manchester Marine, Crockers, and Manchester Moorings really provide essential services to the community and public safety. So these uses and additional commercial and recreational uses require, infrastructure along the water, funding to maintain and support. They also provide a source of revenue for the town, and they require a knowledgeable and engaged public. There have been pressures, all along the coast of Massachusetts for replacing water-dependent uses with non-water dependent uses. So in recognizing that, we need to preserve land for water-dependent uses, sustain the fisheries infrastructure that we have, improve outreach to gain interest in use of the waterways and its issues, and also to assess the local shellfish population in hopes of opening areas to recreational shellfishing. So yeah, that was our overview.
Great, thank you very much. Why don't you unshare for a minute? And do you want to, Kristen, anything you want to add? No? Okay, I just wanted to add that one of the things that we did not weigh in on, I was trying to make the room bigger, sorry. Anyway, do that in a second. We did not weigh in on the day-to-day management of the harbor or the staff or the, what boat needed to be updated or repaired. We also did not weigh in on the management of Singing Beach, even though it is in the study area, because there's a whole department here that does that. And we also did not tackle non-boater parking. I'm not sure we tackled boater parking either, except to identify it as something that came up fairly regularly. The report does have a summary of all of these findings and recommendations in greater detail with some priority setting and some responsibility for that. So I'm going to see if I can make the room bigger. So can you see who's talking? Hold on. Anybody else have anything you want to add? Speaker view.
We're on speaker view.
Yeah.
Gallery maybe?
It's a little bigger.
I think if Henry, are you muted?
Am I which?
Muted. If you
No.
mute, no, okay. We're trying to make it so that, well, it's a little better. I think one last thing. Sorry.
Sarah, the room's gonna stay the same size. You can't change the room. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
you can.
Oh, the screen. You mean the screen. I just wanted to add one thing, and I mentioned this last night as well.
Wow.
That and there's a very nicely written sentence. I think it's at the end of the executive summary that there's not an implementation plan,
Try not.
that we made recommendations, findings and recommendations, and that we tried to prioritize some of those, and we tried to mention some groups that could be involved with implementing those changes. But and that's all found in the report, in the table as well, in the fourth and fifth columns of the tables under each of the goals.
Great. Okay, anything else from the committee that people want to share?
I just like to thank Urban Harbors Institute
Yes.
for working with us and your patience and guidance and good cheer.
Great. Yes, we're a very active group.
It was good
Not
though.
that way.
I'd rather,
Yeah.
it's better to work with people who care.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to.
Okay, well,
I'd like to give a public acknowledgement to Henry and Peter and our shellfish warden for coming to the HAC meeting last night, and Henry for presenting to the group. Thank you, Henry.
Absolutely. Thank you.
okay, well, questions or comments from the public? Let's take anything from the room first. A couple people in the room. No, nothing right now? Yeah, go ahead. You've read the whole thing. Thank you for.
No, it was a great job. You guys did a lot of work, so thank you.
Remind me of your name.
I'm Dave McKenna.
Dave.
Going through it, I think goal number 2 was safety. And there is some data in the report. There's a lot of data about mooring list, wait list, and some other data, but I didn't see any real safety data, how many boating accidents, how many medical calls, how many water rescues, how many harbor patrol and interventions, and where, if there's location specific things that happen on the water. I think all that data would help with goal number 2. I think the recommendation is to put a harbor master office on the water. So once you understand that data, is it urgent or not? Do we have an issue? If we don't, maybe we do. You guys look at data?
We did not look at that data. No, I think that's a great point, but we, obviously talked with the harbor master and interviewed the harbor master to talk about some of those things, but we don't have hard, quantitative data related to that.
Is that data
Do you
available?
have that data?
Well, so one of the things that we've started doing, especially since we've started to have the police department out on the water more, is integrating reporting into dispatch. And all calls, all of them, are now recorded and saved. So there is a record of calls or things that go through dispatch. We're trying to have everything go through dispatch so that we can have that record to draw from.
So that's relatively new, but anything past 10 years, has that?
I have incident reports, but no, I absolutely have not kept a record of, how many boats I stopped over the course of the day to slow down or to do safety checks, just,
So just curious for the members here, where you got goal number 2 with safety. Do people feel like that's a high priority? And that, is there any urgency around it? And what data do you have to support your thought?
Well, I think the fact that our main recommendation there was about capacity. an understanding capacity. It's sort of like the next step is to gather more specific data about particularly not just, you know, Thursday, cloudy Thursday at 3 o'clock, but the hot sunny Saturday when a thundersquall is coming through, that the peak capacity, because peak capacity is really when you're most vulnerable. That's not always the case with capacity considerations. But on the water, I would argue that is, and what it's, so we did say that the capacity question around safety was the big issue to take further action. So maybe better incident study of where the incidents occur. And it was not just about on water, it was also dock, what does the town need to do to maintain the docks, to provide I don't want to use the word policing, but oversight on the water to keep people safe. And there are some recommendations about clearer voter education. So I think we recognize that we need some data. Sandy Rogers. I assume that's you, Sandy.
Yes, thank you. Coughing. Sandy Rogers, 82 Old Essex Road. I guess I'm trying to understand the purpose of this meeting and the purpose of the plan. I thought I was going to attend this meeting and see what the plan is, and all I saw were high-level bullets, no priority. Like, I just don't have a context here. I have not had the time to read through the detail of the plan. My first question is, when was this plan introduced in its current form? When is this version of this plan?
Yeah,
What date is assigned to it?
So I don't know, we put it up on the website a week or two ago. It was in Tony's, I don't know if you saw the thing I shared at the beginning. It's available on the town website, and with a link to the full plan and a public comment form. That said, we have been meeting a lot.
Yeah, I understand, but like when you think about a master plan and getting people's feedback, to say that you've got like a week from this meeting, not going through the details, not really talking about the different elements, and then saying, here, take a look at it, and you've got a week to send in a comment, just as a citizen and as someone who's concerned about varying aspects of sustainability and climate change and everything like that, I thought we would be hearing more about that. And so I just think that there needs to be more engagement with the public before closing off comments on such an important plan that's going to set the stage for potentially future investments and plans and activities and town spending to do more studies or whatever. I guess from this feedback, then like, what does this mean? We're not voting on anything on this plan. I think what I heard is there's no implementation behind this. So what is the purpose of this? I'm sort of correlating in my head, like there's like the town master plan, and is this like a subset of a master plan that's focused around the harbor? I guess if you can explain a little bit more, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Take a stab at that. So I think, a great way of putting it is kind of a subset of a master plan that's really focused solely on the harbor and the waterways. And so the recommendations do need to be carried forward by an implementation committee, and we do recommend that an implementation committee is formed. And we do list responsible parties in the plan to address the specific recommendations. So there's entities that are essentially responsible for pushing forward the recommendations. But there will be an implementation committee that is reviewing the plan and working through the recommendations to address them before the next, harbor plan, which is supposed to be done every 10 years. And so,
The other thing I would just say, so we hear your feedback that you need more time, especially perhaps given the season. And it's always a balance to present something like this, concisely and without sharing 104 pages. But, if you are limited on time, anybody who's gonna watch the video or couldn't attend tonight is gonna try to catch up. There starting on page 16, there's a matrix. This is for goal 1, with the findings, and then the recommendations are presented with more detail. And you can see that it's priority and who's responsible and what that time frame is. This is just the one for climate change. And for example, there are some new ideas here on climate change. Some obvious things up above to include climate in the town's planning, but then one to find opportunities to streamline permitting for planned climate mitigation strategies, for example. So that's something that's gonna be the planning board, the Concom, perhaps, town administrator, select board need to figure that out. But that's a real concrete thing that we can help, I think, residents and so forth. But so each of the goals has also some background on the findings. So if you're short on time, focus starting on page 16 in the matrix to get a more detailed view of the plan.
And
Yeah, I really think that because it touches so many aspects of the town and it has a huge impact on it, that more engagement should be happening in order to agree with the priorities. To me, what this looks like is here's some information we got from all of the work, which I appreciate being done, but the whole idea of presenting this is to engage, to educate of what you found and what the dimensions of it are, so people can weigh in and tell you what they think the priorities are and whether they agree or disagree. And I just think this is being rushed. And especially the time of year, you can see how many people are actually going to engage in a forum like this. So I think this is a critical concern. It's hard to say, yeah, I'm going to spend all this time and look at the details and even understand the details. And a forum like this, we should be able to go back and forth. I'm somewhat I'm usually not this forward, but I'm somewhat shocked at the lack of information presented in this forum. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't think we're trying to hide. Can I just say, we're not trying to hide anything.
No.
And the other thing that is that we did surveys, we did interviews, we had a workshop. And so a lot of this is a compilation and synthesis, not of things we heard that were, and Urban Harbors has been out talking to, I want to say hundreds, but tens of people, dozens of people actually. So, but Sandy, we note your objection, and we'll think a little bit more about how to address that.
Yeah. And don't feel like you need to defend that you've done work. It's just, we need to hear what that work and the details behind that. And that's what I'm saying. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Jan?
Oh, kind of a detail in the climate area. I was surprised not to see anything about Magnolia. In particular, the back and Tessa. No, not Ocean Street. Ocean Street's
Yeah, I know.
Ocean Street is not being ignored in town.
Yeah.
But the back and Tennis has been significantly damaged in several recent storms. And that area is particularly prone to flooding because it has a barrier beach, a barrier dune. And when it breaks through there, it floods the streets, causes the water to come rushing out of the drains. And it just seems not to be in plan at all. Project.
It's helpful.
I'll just add in on that, I think in general that, the infrastructure condition assessment should be done. So anything that's considered infrastructure, like the seawall, retaining wall, town docks, the boat ramp. What is its current condition? How long do you expect it to last? How much money will it cost? Between now and 10 years from now to keep the thing usable. But probably more detailed than this meeting or this, charter was, but maybe that's more of the, information, but.
Can you online hear that? That was a comment that we needed to do more of an infrastructure plan with its current condition of seawalls and,
Yeah, you can refer to the Marblehead Harbor report that they did. Where they went around to the infrastructure and said like, this wall is in good condition, it will last another 10 years, it'll have to be replaced 15 to 20 years, it's gonna cost $2 million. Came up with the table.
There wasn't a wall assessment done since I've been here by an engineering firm up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. They went around and assessed all of the walls and revetments and graded them actually on where they were in their life cycle. So that document exists.
is that public walls or just public walls or public and private?
I believe it was all walls.
Can you offer a clue as to where to find it?
I would know because I didn't sponsor it. The Waterfront Engineers was the name.
Is it online? Is it in your office?
It's not, I don't have it because I wasn't the one who sponsored it and pursued it. It was Tab. Greg was the one. And maybe DPW who pursued that. So I just remember Duncan Mello was the engineer. I know Duncan from Kittery. He was the one who did the assessment. I think he was doing it actually for another company. Duncan Miller, Waterfront Engineers.
You know what now? Yeah, the year. I think it needs to probably be redone.
Yeah, it could be, it's probably been 7 or 8 years anyway, it's pre-pandemic. Let's take a wild guess, and say 2015, 16. Part of the result of that was the seawall, condition of the seawall at Masconomo Park, particularly under Morse Pier, and then going down towards Beach Street where it was sparkling outward. So as part of that, I was able to write a Seaport Council grant. That seawall was repaired, but that information came from, in fact, that was found came from that report.
Done by Pine Bond.
Could have been Time Bond and they hired Duncan to do it.
Okay.
That is somewhere in the archives.
I think maybe some like confusion or lack of stuff that we aren't seeing in the report. We were just sort of a filter for the information that was coming through from the public. We weren't necessarily coming up with all the necessary things in harbor. We were just taking the information and then putting it out there and then allowing for the public to have a chance.
That's right.
There hasn't been a harbor management plan. This was the first done, and I think part of what we recognize is that there's more work to be done to better understand the needs and we were using the guidance from Urban Harbors for developing the plan as well. So
I would say the town did its master plan 2019, is that correct? That's not about right.
2019.
Right, so if that plan gets done every decade, that might be a good opportunity to pull the harbor plan in with the broader town plan, which I feel it should be. And that gives you a shorter timeline to maybe take under advisement some of these recommendations, concerns, and address them a little bit sooner than the 10-year cycle. And then both plans can be addressed at the same time going forward. Just a thought. I don't know if that's reasonable.
Yeah, there is actually a fairly detailed summary on under climate, a report from Ty and Watt.
Yep.
I just wanted to chime in. That does make sense to look at the harbor in conjunction with the town and the downtown. I believe that prior studies they were looking at, because of the rise in climate, do parking lots need to change around Moscow? You know, are access points to the harbor going to have to change? What is going to be the accessibility? And I think really understanding that and not like having it so separate, and have a plan and prioritize what we're going to work on and what we might invest in, and then have that completely shift is like having a more holistic view. I totally agree. I think that's going to be very, very important. And I also just want to add to what Anne said. I think we have to look at I know the harbor is so critical, like harbor plan, but seeing it prioritized with the rest of the coastline, with Ocean, Magnolia, Tux, everything that we have going on will be important. So yeah, just adding my 2 cents there.
I think I'd also like to say, sir, you just said it. This is the very first of these plans for this town. The town was active, very active, working with Urban Harbor, lots of input. I think it would be a mistake to think that this group would be able to hit it all on the first try. It's a lot. These plans are an incredible amount of work. A year and a half more that this group and Urban Harbors have worked to put this together. So these comments, thank you, Sandy and Dave and Ann, should all take under advisement, plan for inclusion in future master plans for the town. And that's how it works. That's why you go back and visit it. It's a living document. Harbor changes, your plans will change. So this kind of feedback is helpful. I think you guys did a great job. I did play a very active role. You did so much, all of you. You've given the town something a lot, but it was absolutely nothing.
Well, more work to be done for sure.
Absolutely.
Just want to reiterate that you can find the plan on the town's website. And there is a comment form there for people who missed this meeting or want to dig in further. Yeah, go ahead.
It's very fine.
Because you've already dug in. That's
I did read the whole thing, and it is very good. Thank you for your work. I'm just curious why, Bion, you haven't been more involved in this.
There's a very specific reason.
Okay.
I'm an employee of this town. I'm not a resident. I don't pay taxes here. I should not, and have felt strongly that I should not be in here saying, well, I really think you do this, do that. My role is to be like other department heads and other people that have been contacted for information. I share my knowledge, right, when asked for it. My job isn't to dictate anything on any level. That's why.
You've been pretty involved.
I've been fairly involved, but
Not writing.
involved.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks.
Yeah.
I guess, where do we go with this?
I think we need to have a conversation about that. I think there's some high priority that fall to the select board, to the planning board, to the Concom to really think through which things, we strongly recommended a water quality study, beyond just are the beaches safe, but, to drive policy. You know, we got suggested lots of policies and said, well, we're not sure if we have a problem. So things like that, and particularly the question on the capacity. I think that's gonna take some work. We kind of challenged these guys about capacity and, you know, it's a bit subjective. It would be nice to know that that a harbor that is open to the southwest could have X boats per acre or something that, but it's clearly not that simple. But I think metrics, if there are some data about incidents or around boats hitting each other or breaking off, those kinds of things, breaking loose, I think need to be gathered and understood that that's part of having a harbor. If you don't want any boats to break, you know, if you don't want any incidents that don't have any boats, you know, and it's kind of inherent, you want to minimize them.
That's job security.
So we didn't feel like we had the data to make strong recommendations. And I know that, I think we were all frustrated by that a little bit, but it was hard to, and we did get a lot of input and surveys and other things, but a lot of it was anecdotal. Some of it was wrong. People wanted things that already exist, they just didn't know it. People, and there were some recommendations that not that a huge number, but we just felt like were either so minor they didn't need to make it into the plan, or fish cleaning station. Which is, I'm all for. But we felt that it could be done soon without a plan. So, you know, and a lot of things we'd like more of this, or more kayak racks, or without actually, you know, so it's in there, we should have more kayak racks, but it's hard to know what that upper limit is. And so what is that capacity needed? So I would say it's not perfect. I don't think any of us think it's perfect documented or the full guiding document. I think it's a start. That's my opinion.
I guess what I want to know is, how are you going to involve, say, the select board?
Oh, that, we have to come talk to you. I think.
I mean, it's not a real easy document. And we read a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And a more informative, a little bit more a lot more detail in the presentation would help us understand.
Okay.
As an example, parking. We worry a lot about parking. We have set up a system where there are voter parking spaces behind the town hall. There's voter parking in Tux, and that includes overnight for up to 3 nights, I think. And we have a deal with the school that people who want to park for longer times can park there. And the spaces in front of the memorial school are also available for long-term voter parking. So I'm sorry, I'm a little sensitive on this one, but you write it as if there wasn't anything, nobody was thinking about it. And
so so that's an example of it came up often.
Mm-hmm.
So the process by which we were working, whether it was good or bad, was to kind of assess, sort of compile the comments that we got. So the question there maybe in the select board's mind is that they've done what they can and we'll check it off as done. Or maybe we can also take it as a comment that we need to perhaps rephrase that recommendation because there's a lot that's already gone forward and maybe it should be revised it should be revisited for every 5 years, 10 years, whatever your term is up.
And that's up to the voters.
No, but my point is, that's an example of our conundrum here. It's just sort of the process that was recommended to us was get input. So I think we downplay that issue relative to the amount of comments that they've received. So it's, one of those perception versus reality, perhaps, or a capacity. We can't make more space, right?
You can use the space, sometimes you can use the space more intelligently.
Right.
But I feel like our mode wasn't to tell the town how to use the space, it was just to say that it's a
Identify it.
concern that there is something, so when the parking issue comes up, and it has to do with voter, they can refer to the plan, like, oh, it was a concern for the voters. Like, we have no implementation, and we can't tell, we need to make 50 more spaces, or
No.
the town wants 100 more public spots, we can just say, it's a concern.
And the other thing that came up fairly often was that people really just didn't, and this may be a really good example, didn't really know what their options were on various things, or didn't choose to avail themselves of the available information, whatever that is. We hear all the time on many issues, well, I didn't know, or, so we did make a recommendation about trying to increase information on the town's website, and I know you've been working on that.
Hi, just another comment listening to this conversation. It sounds like the stage that you're at is, here is what we have reported back as a committee versus we want feedback regarding a plan, honestly. And I think what I'm hearing, it's premature. There's more data that needs to be vetted regarding infrastructure or whatever it is, and more engagement of the town to agree to something like, this is the plan, and this is going to be like a guiding light as to what priorities we work on going forward. This sounds like it's a little bit premature regarding presenting findings from all the work and gathering, and here's a first step, versus here's something that's vetted and we've worked with the town and we have gotten the information, and then that becomes a plan. So just what I'm observing, wanted to share that, and think I really think you need to think through that all. Thank you.
So just to clarify, I'm not sure that's exactly how I would characterize it. I think we've done a lot more synthesis than just that, but I certainly hear your perspective, Sandy, and we'll definitely think a little bit more about that.
I think I need to share too, for everybody listening, that we have essentially reached the end of our contract with Urban Harbors Institute. The money that was allocated from the Waterway Fund to pay for this project, these contractors, it's spent. So we're in final stages with what they can help and provide with. If the town wants to revisit more work, then it's going to cost more money.
If we were to engage them.
Right. I think I actually think I had a document like this when I was Cary Harbor Master of the Port Authority, that their harbor master plan, and they're dense. There's a lot of information. It's hard for everybody to synthesize it. Most people don't read them. It's used by people who are working to accomplish something within the community or other boards and committees. It will change and evolve over time, but we've essentially reached the end of our partnership with Urban Harbors. And we have for a first shot.
But it shouldn't be the end of our harbor planning.
Oh, no, absolutely not. That's ongoing.
Okay. Other comments from folks? Sandy, do you have another comment or you just have your hand up? So,
No, I needed to take my hand down again.
I know. Problem.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we've done a lot of work with communities who have harbor plans, and for a first harbor plan, this is pretty standard. You find where your gaps are in like what you hear that the community wants to do, and you can't really make a decision one way or another without really filling in data needs, like you were mentioning, that safety reports and understanding that. Well, that's a piece of data we didn't know we needed until we did this plan, and need to understand the capacity and where are there problems. When you do your next plan, you'll have that data. You'll have much more strong recommendations. We're doing Nantucket's third plan. They're rewriting regulations specifically with new language. So every time you do it, your plan gets a little better. You get to check off all the things that you did. You also get to revisit things that didn't happen and figure out, did it not happen because it actually wasn't important, or because it got done through another mechanism, or because it's so expensive and so time consuming that we have to keep working on it. So I think you guys feel pretty good about this plan. I think it does. It's a lot of the actions are really about getting more data, more information, and getting a better understanding of what you have, what you need, which could be frustrating. I totally understand that, and I'm a problem solver, and so to have a plan that's like, oh, well, actually, you need water quality data so that you know what your problems are. You need natural resource data baseline so that you can understand how things are changing. That's where you guys are right now. 5-10 years from now, you'll have that data. You can make stronger recommendations. So just wanted to kind of provide that longer term planning.
Is that, I didn't see that reflected. That might be a nice add-on to
Explaining that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can do that.
Continuum. Yep. Okay, well, I'm gonna, and if there are no more comments, we'll make it an early night. I'm sure we all would appreciate that. Henry, anything to add? You've been very quiet tonight. Nope.
I don't think so. I think it's a good wrap up. I think we have a good balance of both providing some structure for findings and recommendations, but we also have provided an outlet for citizens to comment, and we have plenty of time and to work comments in as they come in. So I think we're in a great spot.
I just suggest that you extend the comment period.
Yeah.
This is a hard time. And maybe after the first of the year, put out another in the time or something to say,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Okay, great.
And that's going to extend your timeline, but.
Well, I think
It's probably going to be extended into January anyway,
Yeah.
because we're going to take the comments that are currently in the public forum and from this and
Yeah.
integrate it into the plan. So this
we're
is
doing a no cost extension.
yes. Yeah. So this is also an opportunity. The feedback we're getting here is we're going to review and integrate into the plan. So this isn't just your feedback is being heard, and we're going to essentially integrate it here.
Okay, I think we heard that. Great. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for taking time out of your busy night and this time of year. It's busy. And we will continue to chat. So with that, I take a motion to adjourn. I think Deb just made, and I think Peter seconded. All in favor? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. See you soon.